February 28th, 2026. Future historians will mark this as the day World War III began. Not with a declaration, not with nuclear weapons, not with tanks rolling across borders, but with 2,000 drones, with cyber attacks, with autonomous weapons making kill decisions, with proxy forces fighting in a dozen countries. And if you think this is just another Middle East conflict, you're already behind. Because World War III doesn't look like World War II, and that's exactly why no one's calling it what it is. Today, I'm going to show you the evidence. The patterns everyone's missing, and why what's happening right now is exactly what a 21-stage century world war looks like. Let's break it down. Before we go further, let's talk about what World War III actually is, because if you're waiting for this, you're going to miss it. A world war isn't defined by the size of the battles, it's defined by scope. World War I started with an assassination in Sarajevo, escalated into a global conflict involving 70 million soldiers. World War II started with Poland, ended with nuclear weapons and 85 million dead. Both started small. Both were called regional conflicts at first. Both expanded until the entire world was involved. A world war has three characteristics. 1, multiple major powers involved. Not just one superpower versus a smaller nation. Multiple global powers, either directly fighting or backing proxies. 2, conflicts across multiple regions, not contained to one theater, fighting on multiple continents simultaneously. 3, economic and technological mobilization. Entire economies shift to war production. Technology becomes the primary battlefield. Now let me ask you, does what's happening in 2026 fit this definition? Let's look at the evidence. Here's who's actually involved in the Iran conflict. Direct combatants: United States, 11 B-1 Lancers, 150 plus F-35s, carrier strike groups. Israel, joint operations, intelligence sharing. Iran, 2,000 plus drones, ballistic missiles, cyber attacks. Proxy support. Russia, providing intelligence, satellite data, electronic warfare tech to Iran. China, dual-use technology exports, diplomatic cover. North Korea, drone technology transfer confirmed. Coalition partners, UK, RAF deployed to Cyprus. Intel sharing, France, naval assets in Mediterranean. Saudi Arabia, airspace logistics, targeting Intel. UAE, Al Dhafra Air Base, counter-drone systems. That's 9 major powers, either fighting directly or providing critical support. The US, UK, France, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and UAE on one side. Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea on the other. But wait, it's bigger than Iran. Now add Russia versus Ukraine. Us/NATO backing Ukraine with $200 billion plus in aid. China-Taiwan tensions. US committed to defense. Japan involved. North Korea-South Korea provocations. US troops stationed. India-Pakistan border skirmishes. Both nuclear powers. Syria, Russian, Turkish, US forces all operating. These aren't separate conflicts. They're coordinated. Russia shares intelligence with Iran. China provides technology to North Korea. North Korea supplies drones to Iran. Iran tests tactics that Russia uses in Ukraine. It's a network of conflicts, all involving the same major powers, all happening simultaneously. That's not multiple regional conflicts. That's a world war. So that's evidence number 1. Multiple major powers engaged across multiple fronts. But maybe you're thinking, okay, lots of countries involved, but they're not all fighting each other. Fair point, but World War III doesn't require everyone to fire directly at everyone else. It just requires global involvement, and we have that. Now let's look at evidence number 2, because this is where it gets really obvious. World War II had clear theaters: the European theater, the Pacific theater, North Africa. World War III, let me show you the map. Theater 1, the Middle East. Active combat operations: Iran versus us/Israel. Drone swarms, airstrikes, naval confrontations. Yemen, Houthi attacks on shipping backed by Iran. Syria, Russian, Turkish, US forces. Iraq, militia attacks on US bases. Theater 2, Eastern Europe, active combat operations. Ukraine versus Russia, NATO backing Ukraine. Baltic tensions, Russian aircraft testing NATO airspace. Moldova instability, Russian-backed separatists. Theater 3, Asia-Pacific, active tensions/skirmishes. Taiwan Strait, Chinese military exercises, US naval patrols. South China Sea, territorial disputes, freedom of navigation ops. Korean Peninsula, North Korea missile tests, US roke drills. India-China border, Himalayan clashes. Theater 4, cyber domain, the invisible war. This is the theater most people don't see. Active cyber operations, confirmed. Iranian cyber attacks on US critical infrastructure. Russian attacks on Ukrainian power grid. Chinese industrial espionage operations. North Korean cryptocurrency theft. Funding weapons programs. US offensive cyber operations. Classified but acknowledged. Cyber attacks have increased 278% in the last year. That's not random. That's coordinated warfare. Theater 5, space, the newest battlefield. Yes, space is now a combat domain. Anti-satellite weapons testing, Russia, China, India. GPS jamming operations. Satellite surveillance battles. Space Force actively tracking hostile satellites. 5 theaters, spanning 4 continents, plus cyber and space. That's not regional conflicts. That's a global war. So we've covered evidence 1 and 2. Multiple major powers? Check. Multiple theaters of war? Check. But here's the clincher. Evidence number 3 is what really proves we're in World War III, because this is the part that changes everything. In World War II, factories that made cars started making tanks. Women entered the workforce. Rationing became normal. Entire economies shifted to war production. Sound familiar? The defense industrial surge. United States, Patriot missile production increased 300%. Directed energy weapons fast-tracked to deployment. Project Replicator, thousands of autonomous drones ordered. Defense budget increase, $886 billion, 2024, $950 plus billion 22 secs. Russia, shifted to wartime economy, 40% of budget to military. Factories running 24/7 producing drones, missiles, ammunition. Mobilized 300,000 plus troops. China, launched 3rd aircraft carrier. Hypersonic missile production ramped up. Semiconductor factories prioritizing military applications. Defense spending increase, 7.2% year over year. Europe, NATO. Germany committed 100 billion euros to military modernization. Poland ordering 1,000 plus tanks, 600 plus HIMARS. UK increasing defense budget to 2.5% GDP. The supply chain warfare. This is 21 state century economic warfare. Semiconductor restrictions. US versus China. Rare earth mineral competition. Energy sanctions. Russian oil/gas. Food export bans. Ukraine grain crisis. Financial system weaponization. Swift cutoffs. Countries aren't just fighting with weapons, they're fighting with economics. The technology race. But here's where it gets really 21st century. The primary battlefield isn't land. It's technology, current technology, arms race, AI weapons, autonomous drones, targeting systems, hypersonic missiles, Mach 5 plus delivery systems, quantum computing, breaking encryption, secure communications, directed energy weapons, lasers, microwave systems, cyber offensive capabilities, space-based weapons and counterspace systems. Every major power is racing to develop these. Billions being spent, scientific communities mobilized, just like the Manhattan Project, just like the space race. That's what war looks like when technology is the weapon. So let's recap the evidence so far. Multiple major powers engaged, multiple theaters of war across the globe, total economic and technological mobilization. That's 3 for 3. By the historical definition, we're in a world war. But here's the question everyone's asking. If this is World War III, why isn't anyone calling it that? Why governments won't call it World War III? There's a reason no government is officially calling this World War III. And it's not because it isn't won. Reason number 1. Avoiding panic the moment a leader says, "We are in World War III," what happens? Stock markets crash. People panic buy. Civil unrest increases. Public demands immediate resolution or withdrawal. No government wants that pressure. Reason number 2. Legal and treaty obligations. The word war has legal weight. Declaring war triggers. Congressional approval requirements. In the US, NATO Article 5 considerations. UN Security Council involvement. International law obligations. By not calling it war, governments maintain flexibility. Reason number 3. The boiling frog strategy. You've heard the metaphor. Drop a frog in boiling water, it jumps out. Put it in cold water and slowly heat it, it doesn't notice. That's exactly what's happening. Escalation is gradual. First, economic sanctions. Then, cyber attacks. Then, proxy support. Then, limited strikes. Then, direct engagement, but not war. Each step feels manageable. Each step feels like it's not crossing the line. But add them all up, you're in a world war. Reason number 4. Nobody wants to be the one. The leader who officially declares, "We are in World War III," they become the person who started it, even if they didn't. So everyone keeps calling it special military operation, defensive measures, regional conflict, targeted operations, anything but war. But historians won't care what we call it. They'll look at the facts. Multiple powers, multiple theaters, total mobilization, and they'll call it what it is. What happens next? So if we're already in World War III, what happens next? Scenario 1. Controlled escalation. Most likely, the conflict continues at current intensity. Proxy wars in multiple regions. Cyber attacks remain constant. Economic warfare intensifies. Technology arms race accelerates, but no major power directly attacks another's homeland. This could last years, decades even. A permanent state of not quite peace, not quite war. Scenario 2. Nuclear deterrence holds. Hopeful. The reason WW3 doesn't look like WW2? Nuclear weapons. Mutually assured destruction still works. No one wants total annihilation. So the war stays limited, fought with drones, cyber, proxies, economics, never crossing the nuclear threshold. Scenario 3. The Taiwan flashpoint. Dangerous. This is the scenario that keeps Pentagon planners awake. China is watching Iran's drone tactics. learning what works against US defenses, testing economic resilience. If China invades Taiwan, US has committed to defense. Japan would be involved. Australia, UK would likely join. North Korea might activate. That's when the world war becomes undeniable. Scenario 4. Economic collapse forces result in. Possible. Prolonged economic warfare has costs. Inflation, shortages, unemployment, public pressure mounts. Eventually, one side, or both, can't sustain it. Negotiations happen. Some kind of settlement emerges. The war ends not with victory, but with exhaustion. The truth. So here's the truth. World War III has already started. It doesn't look like the black and white footage you've seen. There are no trenches, no mushroom clouds, no clear front lines. But by every historical definition, multiple major powers, multiple theaters, total economic mobilization. We're in it. Governments won't admit it. News won't frame it that way. Most people won't realize it until years from now. But February 28th, 2026, that's the date historians will point to. The day 2,000 drones launched. The day autonomous weapons went operational. The day the pattern became undeniable. The question isn't whether we're in World War III. The question is how long it lasts, how far it escalates, and how it ends. The call to action. So that's my case. The evidence is there. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think we're already in World War III? Drop your answer in the comments, yes or no, and tell me why. Because this conversation, it matters. If you found this analysis valuable, hit subscribe. I'm covering every angle of this conflict, from the technology to the strategy to the geopolitics. See you in the next one.